My name is Alyssa Barnhouse. This is Katie Borchering. And this is Grace Stingson. And for our senior action project, we felt called to serve at the Lincoln Pregnancy Center.
Before we started our project, we did some research, and in a recent study, there were just under 900,000 abortions performed in 2017. In a different study that took place in 2014, 97% of Nebraska counties did not have an abortion clinic. In Nebraska, Planned Parenthood, Pregnancy Center, and Bright Right Incorporation are all pregnancy resources that are in Lincoln, Nebraska, including a few others. We then got in touch with the Lincoln Pregnancy Center and started working with them.
Alyssa and I both wrote papers on the topic of abortion for our persuasive research paper early in the school year. Mine was on the scientific and legal side of things, whereas Alyssa's focused more on the education of abortion. Personally, I grew up in a very pro-life home, and I would go with my mom to the abortion clinic every Tuesday to pray when I was homeschooled. A big part of my paper was about backing up my pro-life stance with scientific and constitutional proof. For instance, I chose to focus on when a human life begins. Life begins at conception. Diane Irving states in her journal, When Do Human Beings Begin?, that upon fertilization, parts of human beings have actually been transformed into something very different from what they were before. They've been changed to a single whole human being. I also went into detail about the unique characteristics of a human being and when they develop in the womb, to further show that it was not the woman's body, but a separate human being. With the scientific evidence that it is a separate and unique human being inside the womb, I argue that the child is therefore entitled to 3 inalienable rights stated in the Declaration of Independence: life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
So as Grace said before, my paper mainly focused on the education that's within abortion. And one of the things that stood out to me majorly was medical students claimed that they had little to no education about abortion while their time when they were in medical school. A quote from a medical teacher magazine states, medical students identified curricular gaps in the areas of abortion, sexual assault, etc. And so that seems to be something that's very scary, as a lot of them are the ones that are going to work in hospitals, and some may be going to work in these clinics, and where they are going to need to know this information, but they have little to no information about that. And then another place where there is lacking education today is in teen moms. A lot of times in today's society, teen moms are taught that they have one option, and that is an abortion, because they have a life to live, and that is the only option that they have out there for them. And that's one thing that we'll talk about with the pregnancy centers. The pregnancy center made it very known that there were multiple options for these women to have. That there's abortion, there's adoption, there's keeping the baby, and they addressed that issue of having many things. And then we also addressed the fact that it's a very big growing problem. Today, abortion is one of those hot topics that is very big controversy. And you see even in our own city, you see license plates where people have the pro-life license plate, but then there's also the Planned Parenthood, my body, my choice. And so that's what Grace talked about as the woman versus fetus rights, as which one has the rights. And as we addressed, Grace found that when it becomes a human being at conception, it automatically becomes that person's right.
So as some of you may know, the Nebraska Walk to Life was on January 26th of this year. We decided to attend the Walk for Life, and it was a very impactful experience to see people of all ages from all over the state of Nebraska come together and to stand and walk for the sanctity of life. It was a very beautiful and empowering thing to witness. This made us want to get more involved with the pro-life movement, so we decided that volunteering at the Lincoln Pregnancy Center was the perfect way to serve our community. An event that correlated with our project and sparked our first bit of action was the legalization of late-term abortion in New York on January 22nd. The law stated that abortion is permitted after 24 weeks if a healthcare professional determines the health or life of a mother is at risk or the fetus is not viable. This means that an abortion is legal even up to minutes before birth. That same day, one of the World Trade Center buildings was lit up pink to declare a celebration, as many believe that this was a large step for women's rights.
On February 23rd, pro-life supporters organized an event in honor of babies that have been taken by abortion. This event was created in responses to the passing of the late-term abortion bill that passed in New York. Organizers and attendees were to wear black, refrain from shopping on this day, and if they owned a business, they should close it, and to pray for forgiveness in the fallen world. We thought that it was kind of ironic that on this day, we had experienced a large snowstorm, and many people were forced to stay home and not shop or open businesses, unknowingly honoring this day of mourning.
So our action started with Grace reaching out to Kim at the pregnancy center, Kim McCarthy, for the first time on January 14th to begin to see how we could serve. Kim was in contact with us throughout January and February through a series of emails, and we met with her for the first time on February 13th to begin talking about how we could help at the Pregnancy Center and opportunities within our school. And then right here, there's a list of things that the Pregnancy Center does. Their motto, every day we help women find confidence and direction for unplanned pregnancies. They also give free pregnancy tests, free ultrasounds, free counseling, free community resources, which are all confidential. The first time we met her was when the late-term abortion laws had been passed in New York, so this is a key factor in our first conversation. She told us that the day of mourning was coming up and that we should plan something at our school. So obviously that day was February 24th, and this was a weekend for us, and to try and gather students at Lincoln Lutheran on a weekend was something that was very difficult for us to do. So on February 25th, during AP period, we decided to have a small presentation that we put together talking about what the law that had been passed was, and giving information to students, and also giving them a time to come and sit with us and to be able to pray and just talk about what was happening. While only a few students came and we had a small turnout, we were still able to pray with them and talk to a few students that came.
When we went to volunteer at the Pregnancy Center, they had just received a lot of new clothing donations, so they were in need of reorganization. Our main job was to clear out their winter clothing, put it into storage, and replace it with newly donated spring and summer clothing. Kim gave us a task of sorting through the new clothing, as some of it was outdated or damaged, and reorganize their closets by size, types, and just general tidying up. One thing the Pregnancy Center does is they provide maternity and baby clothing for mothers in need. They also provide diapers and free consultations for women on their journey through motherhood. Us reorganizing their clothing allowed the workers of the Pregnancy Center to give more attention to their clients and focus more on their immediate needs. We also talked with Kim about the pro-life movement as a whole and what we could do in our community to help out outside of the Pregnancy Center. We talked about possibly getting a group together and going down to Planned Parenthood on a Tuesday and praying, or getting a group, or creating a group at Lincoln Lutheran similar to Concordia's Bulldogs for Life. As we said before, a large part of our discussion was dedicated to the events in New York and what we could do in response. So Kim helped us come up with the idea to hand out black strings for the day of mourning as a part of our little meeting, so we could make a big issue relatable in our small community.
And so with any project, there are going to be some pros and cons and some successes and struggles. And while for us it may have seemed like there was a few more struggles than successes, we actually think it went pretty well. So one of the successes that we had was the ability to serve in the Pregnancy Center, an environment that deals directly with this issue. And then dealing with what goes into these situations. Many of the workers there dedicate their life to being with these women who are struggling with a lot of situations. They are able to sit and listen to them and talk to them. And many of the women that go there are able to go back there throughout their entire pregnancy, and they are able to follow up with them. And then we also learned how to aim this topic to our community school-wide and statewide. Thinking back to the original statistics, just showing the abortion stats that are in Lincoln and in Nebraska in the broader sense. And then also learning ways that we could address Lincoln Lutheran and be able to talk about it to a high school setting, and not only just high school, but also a middle school setting. So the biggest struggle that we had was communication, and obviously with there being HIPAA or patient confidentiality, that was one big thing with going to the Pregnancy Center. They are very strict about the ways that you're able to serve there, because they want you to avoid being around the patients. They want to find ways that you can help, but they also know that it's very confidential for their patients, and they know that it always isn't easy for people to be there. And then emailing was our only form of communication with Kim. And obviously, as I said, with springtime schedules, practices, and work, we all had our different schedules. And while at the beginning we were able to talk to Kim a lot, in these past few weeks, we were not able to have a lot of communication with her, with it being in the springtime. With us they had soccer practices, I had work, and so learning a way to be able to go back there and still be able to work was a little bit more difficult, and with graduation.
Working at the Pregnancy Center in the past few months gave us the ability to see this community that was able to give women another chance by walking with them all throughout their pregnancy and giving them hope in a time where it seems all could be falling apart. We were also able to help the employees who already had a very busy schedule, and our hope was that through packing up old clothing donations and incorporating new summer clothing, we were able to take off a portion of that workload off their hands. Looking into the future, we hope that our impact in education of abortion will stick in not only our Lincoln Lutheran community, but also in our Lincoln community, so that they may have a greater understanding of what abortion is and how to react to it in our community. We hope that through participating in events such as the Walk for Life, we've been able to have a piece in the pro-life movement and hoping to continue that movement on into the future so that this movement will be able to continue for a very long time. We also hope that personally we will be able to go back to the pregnancy center and continue to incorporate more of the ideas we have spoken to Kim about. We have spoken with her about making baby bracelets for mothers who have been at the pregnancy center for their term as a reminder of the joy that comes with a new baby and a reminder that God is with the mother and the baby throughout their entire life. We would also very much enjoy to go and package diapers for the mothers so that they can have a fresh start and well be supported when the baby is born.
That's it.